Right, today we are talking about whether watch journalism is dead. It's quite a contentious topic, and I've got quite a few opinions.
That was really good. That was so good. You nailed that one. Yes.
Right, welcome to the Movement Podcast. I am Adrian. Over there is Britt, Pearce. And we're going to be talking about whether watch journalism is dead. It's quite a broad statement, and there's quite a few weaving things in and out of that. But maybe we should start off with first, what's on our wrist, and then second, a quick whip around of what's been released recently. So, Britt, what have you got on the wrist? Oh, go on.
Our problem
What's
is
our problem?
we're both YouTubers, so we both always just want to get right into the meat of everything. And then it's like, oh yeah, we should do a wrist check. Oh yeah, we can talk to each other a bit more.
I feel like so many other podcasts are like really structured. Do this bit, and then do that bit, and then they're going to end with like a nice, wholesome recommendation of, you should check out this book on well-being and things like that. Sorry, I cut you off. What's on your wrist, Britt?
Today I'm wearing a Fears party dial. It's a friends and family little Fears, and Nicholas gave this to James and myself to share, really. Nicholas Bowman-Scargill of Fears Watches. He gave this to me right after I found out I was pregnant. So it's a really meaningful piece. Love wearing it, and it just makes me happy.
Oh, that's cool. That's really cool.
Yeah.
I wanted to wear my Rolex Chronograph. Datejust Chronograph, but I can't find it. I don't know where it is. I've put it somewhere. So I'm just wearing my Explorer 2.
That is an Adrian watch.
Yeah, but I feel like I wear it all the time, and I enjoy putting on other watches, but I forget where I put them.
How often do you wear your Chronograph?
Not very often. So that's why I wanted to wear it, because I like having an excuse to put it on. Like I wouldn't just randomly put it on. Because it's kind of like my dress watch. I wear it for an occasion. I've been tempted to sell it. So if I'm honest, I thought it was a white dial. So I put it off eBay, and the dial looked white. It was just bad lighting in the images. But it turns out that it was like a gold dial. And I love it when it's a white dial with a gold bezel and then the steel case. That combination is sexy.
It's so good.
So I'm tempted to move it along and get a white dial. I'm so disorganized. I'm probably not going to do that. I want to sell my Seamaster. Anyway, this is off topic.
It always comes back to, I keep meaning to sell my Seamaster. I was just listening to another episode of ours today, and it was, I keep meaning to sell this Seamaster, but then I put it on, it's the summertime, and it feels right. Yeah. For me, it's just the ball achery of selling something, is getting myself administratively organized enough to actually do it. And it's taking the photos and writing the description. It all takes so much longer than you think it's going to take.
Yeah, finding the box, trying to take the images, trying to take photographs, getting the fingerprints off it. Yes, it's a pain. And then it sells, and then you got to find a box big enough to pack it up in, get it off to the post office. But it'll go at some point. Right, do you want to talk about new releases?
Yeah, I think we should talk about new releases. I feel like you know more about the new releases than I do, because I'm so uninformed and in mom world. When we met to have this chat, you were like, oh, did you see this? I was like, no. So I'm wrapping my brain around everything still.
I can't take credit for knowing what's going on. Gerald, who runs a shop, sent me a link to a new Hamilton car key mechanical field power reserve. So Hamilton's probably most iconic watch for watch nerds, perhaps not necessarily within the watch. The really sexy field watch that they do, the mechanical hand wound mechanical car key field watch. They've now launched a new version, 40mm, and it's got a power reserve indicator. So it's a very simple change, but I absolutely love it. I love a power reserve indicator anyway, but it just adds another little sexy something to the watch that you can interact with. You don't have a date wheel, so you don't need to change the date, and I kind of enjoy changing the date and interacting with the watch. So it's nice having something else there. And I guess it reminds me perhaps a bit with like a travel time watch where you have the mini GMT or 24-hour dial. It looks similar to that. But I love it. I think it's great. Killer watch, 760 quid on a fabric strap. I think it looks great.
Yeah,
And
it's a
then-
good extra point of interest on the khaki field because it's already almost a clinical looking watch, and it's meant to. It's a field watch, but I think it adds a point of interest that it kind of needed. So you can still get the more clinical, very very field watch variation, but then if you wanted another point of interest, you wanted another little extra. This scratches that itch.
It really does. I think it looks sick. I want to get one of these in. So the next watch release is from the very contentious Bremont. This is the Altitude MB Meteor Stealth Grey. Now I got hands on with this watch at Wonders, Geneva Watch Days, and my comment to them, I think this is a sick looking watch. It's an integrated bracelet, sports watch, double crown. One of the crown rotates the inner bezel. It's got this bright yellow seconds hand. It looks awesome. Proper stealthy, and the applied indices look really cool because they've got presence, but they're also super fine as well. I think it looks really smart. Still don't like the logo, but as a design, this looks great. I said to them, "You should do this. Are you planning to do this in a flat black dial?" And they said, "Well, we already do that. That's already been released." They showed me that watch, and I actually don't like it because it feels like it's lacking. No, I don't know. I was going to say it feels like it's lacking something. Looking at it here, I don't think it is. There's something about this meteorite dial, the whole stealthiness of it. It looks really cool. I don't think this is going to be like their hero product, but I do think this will sell because I think, well, no, actually no, it's a fair price, £5,700 for a titanium watch. That's pretty decent.
It's pretty all right. I don't know. Bremont's in a really tricky spot right now, I feel like. I think the meteorite adds a texture that I think like a black dial or a black lacquer wouldn't have as much. I think it's a nice texture that's been added to it. I really like it. I feel like I haven't hated the Bremont rebrand as much as other people have, but I think what it did was alienate a lot of Bremont people. Like I think a lot of the people who were really into Bremont especially hated the rebrand, but I was never a mega Bremont person, so maybe that's why I wasn't as offended by it. But I don't love it either. Like I'm not clamoring to go out and get a Bremont.
Yeah, I kind of feel the same. There are Bremonts that I like. I get hands on with their Supermarine 500 with this white textured dial. The dial kind of has waves on it, not in the same way as an Omega dial has waves on it. They have like three-dimensional waves, like up and down curves on the dial, and that's pretty sexy. I don't like textured dials for me, but as like a feature, I think it looks pretty cool. I'm a sucker for a white dial. So yeah, the rebranding did annoy me. I do like Bremont, and I did like their branding. I liked what they had built up, and I think that's what annoyed people was that they were this young brand going against the grain, doing something different, trying to celebrate or fly the flag for British watchmaking. They were this very British brand, despite the fact they had a French name, and they were doing. I don't know. They had a lot of support from people, and by doing the rebrand, it was kind of saying, "Oh no, we don't like what we were doing before. We're going to do this thing over here," and it's like, that's weird. Yeah, it's a shame what's happening with Bremont. I really hope they pull through and manage to bring stuff together and sell some watches. I guess it's a tricky thing to explain.
I know exactly what you mean, and I think the price point is just a really tricky sector. Like when you think of what £5,700 can buy you,
I don't think it can buy you much.
It's the trickiest price point.
Like
it can't anymore.
No, well, a Seamaster, a normal Seamaster, is 6,600, I think.
No, I thought they were 5,600 for the most bog standard Omega Seamaster. So this isn't the new releases. If you just look up, like, say your white dial one on a bracelet, I think it's £5,600.
Why is there such a big? So there's a steel on steel case, steel bracelet, Seamaster, £5,600. Then there's one next to it which is steel on steel, £6,700. If you get the new versions, so like with the aluminium inserts and the Milanese bracelet, that's £6,100. So this Altitude from Bremont is £5,700, and that's titanium, which is a harder metal to work with. trickier metal. Yeah, my white dial's 5,600. Yeah, so that's a fair point. If you had 5,700-ish pounds to spend, would you go for Bremont, regardless of the metal? Or would you go with an Omega where the metal?
That's exactly it. I don't think many people are going shopping thinking, is this titanium or not? How premium is this material?
Yeah.
It's, do I like this watch or do I not? And then the other things just kind of complement the way you already felt, I think.
Yeah.
But I think it's such a competitive price bracket. I wouldn't personally spend my money on that. But I've also never been a Bremont person.
Yeah.
I've never been someone that they particularly speak to. I've always been sized out. I never got on board with the whole story and everything. I know a lot of people have, but it's just never fully worked for me.
Yeah, it's a tricky brand. I do like their origin story. I like the English brothers, but right. Shall we talk about Geneva Watch Days?
Yeah, we were both there. We had a dream and a fantasy of maybe filming an episode together, but it never came to fruition.
Yeah, we went out for dinner with Breitling and went and had an amazing meal, a Lebanese meal. It wasn't fancy, but it was just cool, interesting food that I've not had before. The best falafel. I've had falafel before, but this was the best falafel I've ever had. And there was this chicken kofta, I think it was, that only me and James. Do we call him James?
Yeah. Everyone knows he's James.
Okay, cool. So me and Britt's husband, James, Britt's husband and I had this chicken kofta dish, and I woke up at 5 a.m. and felt quite unwell, and that remained until pretty much yesterday.
Yesterday.
I had an interesting flight back.
It got you good, didn't it?
Yeah, and so I had to. It wasn't a wasted trip because I did get to see some of the Geneva Watch Days, but it was just nowhere near as productive as I wanted, and we didn't get to record, which was super annoying.
No, I was so looking forward to it. I know it was exactly the same for me. Although I didn't get sick, I feel, and this happens to me every time I go to events or anything like this, I never get to see many watches because I'll take a couple steps, then start talking to someone, and I'll be like, okay, I need to go look at the watches now. Yeah. And I'll take a few more steps, and I start nattering to everyone who will listen to me. So that's exactly what happened to me. Every time I was in the places that had the watches, I didn't see anything. All I did was talk to people.
It's so tricky, isn't it? And yeah, it's really challenging. And also, I find I underestimate how long it takes to do all the little bits. Like it's moving from room to room. It's exploring the watches, and it's not a matter of, there's 5 watches and you make content on them. No, there's always people coming in and borrowing the watches to then lend to another press person, and then you have to wait for that watch to come back again. It's so tricky. But
this is also why it's nice when they send you watches, because then you have actual proper time to look at it, feel it. I know this is very inside baseball, though.
It is. And also, I guess that kind of leads on to the whole journalism part, because there were so many. If we were to have our way and have watch brands always send us the watches individually, then they would have to have hundreds of press loaners to then send out to everyone. So it's a tricky situation. But there was I was invited to join a panel to do a discussion on whether watch journalism is dead, and it was split up kind of incorrectly, but I understood it. So there were 2 traditional journalists, so people who write for publications, website publications and newspapers. There were 2 collectors who had the most insane watches, and then there were 2 guys classed as influencers, myself and Roman Scharf. I don't class myself as an influencer. I understand the term influencer, and people put it, if you have an Instagram account or a YouTube or a TikTok, or if you're on social media and you have a following, you're classed as an influencer. because that new magical stuff can't possibly be journalism. But I wouldn't necessarily class myself as a journalist either. I talk about watches, but at no point do I try to influence someone. If someone's influenced by something that I say, it's just a byproduct. It's just like someone on Reddit making a comment. You can influence someone by making a comment. If you have the ego to speak publicly, it's likely you will influence someone, and that's us. But I'm not paid to say what I say. It isn't my job to make people buy Redux Explorers. I wish I was on some sort of commission, because the amount of messages I get from people saying, "Oh, I got this Explorer. Thanks for doing the video. It inspired me or convinced me to get it." I wish. Anyway, how do you feel about being called an influencer?
I'm up and down with it. So at first, I felt really offended by the term and I didn't like it. And I didn't think of myself like that. I think when you think of the word influencer, you think, at least me, and maybe this could be coming from a female perspective as well, I think of a very attractive female with an Instagram account where she's trying to sell you cosmetics or sell you something. And I felt exactly the same. I thought, but that's not my primary goal. I just thought I was an enthusiast posting about my enthusiasm. I don't know why everyone keeps having to put a title on it. I just thought I was a normal person posting on Instagram. Or YouTube was really born out of, I was learning how to work a camera. I would love for this enthusiasm to maybe spill onto YouTube. I was super inspired by the things you were doing and a lot of other people. And I thought, wow, maybe my voice could add something to this space. And I thought it was really just an enthusiast channel for fellow enthusiasts. And I still think of it like that. It's grown so much from where it started. But I just think of myself as a watch enthusiast making videos that can hopefully help people who are looking to buy watches, or if they're fellow enthusiasts and want to talk about watch news and all that kind of stuff. So I don't think of myself as an influencer, but I think I get lumped into that category a lot. I think we just need a whole new word for what we do, because I don't like content creator either.
Yeah, I often say that I'm a content creator because I make content, but that's so broad. It's like saying I speak.
Yeah.
It's so wide. Everyone's a content creator because everyone has an Instagram account. So it's really tricky. The premise of the discussion is Watch Journalism Dead was fueled by one of the collectors who made the comment of watch brands need to stop sending journalists and influencers on expensive, lavish trips to promote watches. They should focus on protecting their brand and essentially protecting their brand and improve the brand presence. There was a kind of context to that, and the idea was protecting the brand to prevent watches from being reduced by 40-50% on the grey market. And half of that I agree with, the idea of stopping brands need to stop sending people on lavish press trips. I go on these press trips and I don't necessarily want to go on these press trips, and we've spoken about this quite a lot. But I don't agree with the context or the motivation behind it around brands protecting themselves, because brands can't improve brand awareness without the press or the influencers. The people who talk about the brands are the ones who support the brand, or unless we're bashing them, then they damage the brand. But also, I don't really care if a watch is reduced by 40% on the grey market. Like that, I don't invest enough money in watches for that to be a concern. Now, if I was buying 100, 200, 300,000 pound watches, then maybe that'd be a concern. But that isn't why we buy the watches. And also, I don't give a shit how much the watch gets reduced by. if anything, I would love to go onto Chrono24 or eBay and buy myself a Pepsi at 40-50% off. That'd be awesome. I'd buy it in a heartbeat. And so I don't agree with those motivations. There was a point made by one of the journalists that they went in. they were saying that watch journalism is about educating, is about sharing a message. It's about highlighting, researching, doing research, and then highlighting certain aspects of a watch to then educate people. And I felt like that was implying that we don't do that, which I was a bit triggered by, because I'm educated in education. I have a master's degree in teaching and learning.
I can say Adrian's great at this. He taught me how to connect things on Bluetooth before we came on here. And I said to him, I was like, you should be a person who educates boomers on how to use computers. And he's like, that is actually what I used to do. And I thought, well, you're great at this. So I can actually attest to someone who's been under Adrian's teaching. How fantastic he is.
That was what my career was educating adults. In technology, but also in management and sales and customer service and things like that. And the idea of the journalists doing research implying that we don't do research. We do loads of research. The amount of geeks, like industry geeks, I have in my WhatsApp is outrageous.
Research is the biggest thing that I do. I would say the biggest part of my job.
Long, yeah.
Is research, because I'm very worried when I put a video out that I want everything to be quite right. And especially now as AI is rising and it's really just learning off of what people say. It's not having these free thinking thoughts. It's taking what's on the internet and almost like curating it into a clean and tidy answer. I'm so much more concerned that what I say is proper and true and correct. I spend so much time researching. Yeah, that would absolutely trigger me too. I didn't hear that point because I wasn't there for the whole talk, but I would feel exactly the same.
Yeah, and so they were reeling off all these names of industry guides that brands use. I'm not naming names because they're not here to retaliate.
Name names. Stir the pot. Let's make enemies.
Discussion. And also, that's it. I'm friends with most of the people in the industry, and this isn't. I'm not getting at them. I'm just adding context to the discussion and kind of, I guess, responding to it. I don't know. I was part of this panel. I responded in person. And I've paid watchmakers to fact check things and to explain things in detail around how certain aspects of a watch work. Now, the challenge comes, yes, I've made incorrect statements around either historic facts or how things work. Because we're independents, like we're not part of a large team. We don't then have an editor who's going to read over us. We don't have a team of other people who can chip in and further fact check things. We are a one-person operation on our channels. And also, there's so much misinformation around the internet and from the brands themselves. I've had brands outright lie to me around questions of where things are manufactured and how things are done.
Woof.
And it's and when things like that happen, the idea of journalism is finding out information from the source. And when the source is lying to you, where do you go from there? And where can you confidently go from there? And it becomes so murky.
Yeah, I think the fundamental idea of this panel is already a little bit misleading. So if the title is watch journalism dead? But then the real thing we're nitpicking is, should brands send press on press trips? It feels like it's already a little bit misleading. I am someone who's very new to being invited on these press trips and going on them. I'm very not far on this side of watch journalism. It's very new to me. Having a real normal job was my entire life, and all of this is very new. It's interesting. It's a lot to take in. It's dazzling. I don't think it's necessarily wrong, but I think watch brands could update the way they're doing things. So I would consider a very big part of my job is to go to things like Watches and Wonders, go on these press trips, go on manufacturing tours, communicate to my audience what's on and what's not, what's good, what's bad, what I like, what I don't like, and what you might be surprised by. Because how things look in pictures are often very different to how they look in person.
Yeah.
And they can't communicate in pictures and in the things that go out on Instagram. How does it feel? How does it make you feel? Is it heavy? Does it wear larger? I think that's a very large part of my job. And the way I do that job is by going on these press trips. The fashion industry example would be when it's Paris Fashion Week, when it's Milan, when it's all these other things, and they showcase their product. Journalists and press get to be hands-on, look at it, and say, this is how it looks in person. I think the watch industry could update the way they're doing things, because what I really want is more time with the watches. I love being wined and dined. I love going on wine tasting and I love going to fancy dinners. But really what I want to do is to be hands-on, and this time also gives us access to people we don't always have access to. So I'm now with the lead designer who designed this.
Yeah.
So I can say to you, why did you make that choice? Oh, I see you did this font. I see you added a date wheel there. How come? You'll have people who are a big part of the movement team, and you say, is there scope in the future that you might be doing something that's thinner? What about a micro rotor? Are these things you'd ever do? So really what I get out of the trip and what I'm the most interested in is access to the right people that I can ask the right questions to so I can tell my audience useful information, and more time with the watches. The problem is I spend 80% of the time talking and drinking fabulous champagne, and I will never complain about these things, but I don't get enough time with the thing I'm the most there for. I don't think the press trips are wrong, but I would love if they were restructured so that I can perform my job better.
Yes. Perfectly put. Like that's that's such a concise way of saying what I was just about to say, is that the press trips are being created. I feel like there's two parts of the press trip. One is the branding part. The brand wants to say, look at us, can't we do fabulous things? We're selling you a luxury watch, so we're going to give you a luxury experience. We're going to put you in a 5-star hotel. We're going to take you off and do all these cool, fancy things that are based around the brand. I don't care about that stuff. I care about the product. None of this fancy stuff makes the product better. That's just for the ego of the brand to say, oh, look, we're connected to all these fancy things. The other part of the press trip is that it's created for traditional journalists who, not to belittle them, all they need to do is get hands-on with the watch and then write an article or take some photographs of the watch. Whereas to record a video on a watch takes so much more work. You have to get the lighting right. You've got to get the scene right. You've got to get all the gear in. And to set up a video camera is so much harder than setting up a photography camera. And so that process is all catered towards the traditional journalists, and it doesn't help us. And like you say, we're there to do a job, and we just want to do a job. I love going to fancy hotels. I like drinking nice wine and eating nice food. But if I'm there to do a job, then I have to go do those jobs. And 9 times out of 10, when I'm on a press trip, I will excuse myself from a lot of the activity and just spend the time in the hotel room trying to shoot the watch, because it just takes more time to do that.
See, this is where we're different. I go to all the wine. It's the growing up poor person in me. And they're like, do you want food? And I'm like, yeah, I will eat whatever you give me. Do you want wine? Hell yeah, let's go.
So I feel like the big premise of the discussion was that there was a little bit of negativity towards journalism, but I feel like there was a lot of negativity towards the influencers. Myself and Roman. And Roman was quite happy to be labeled an influencer because he was very open about the fact that, yes, I'm an influencer and I want to influence people to buy my watches. I kind of feel like he's in a different category from what I do because he has a shop that sells watches and he makes content around that, whereas I don't sell watches. And I feel like there's a bit of negativity towards the influencers from a trust point of view. The fact that we're either paid to say something or we're heavily influenced ourselves from this press trip, which I disagree with based on factual experiences. I've been on press trips where journalists don't know anything about the watch. Don't know anything about watches, full stop. I've had to explain to journalists how a watch works. Oh, look, you can look to see inside. And what's this thing spinning around? Like, what? You're here on the back of... And this wasn't a small magazine. This was a massive newspaper, a global brand of newspaper. And so that idea blows my mind. And I've also had journalists say, I've asked them, how does it work? You talking about this watch, do you need to be positive about it? And they've openly said, yes, I need to be positive because these guys pay for an advert. So this article that this guy was going to write, no, that wasn't being paid for. But within this within this edition of the newspaper, there will be an advert for this watch, and this will be the accompanying review. And so that the idea that we are the distrustful ones versus the journalists is absolutely absurd. We are the renegades in this bullshit system of people writing reviews. Yes, there are publications out there which are more honest, and even if something's being paid for, I've heard so many Monochrome, Time and Tide, Fratello, all of these guys talk about times when brands have called them up and said, what the hell are you doing writing this negative stuff about our watches when we pay for this banner ad or something. So there are publications out there who do a proper job. But 9 times out of 10, if someone's writing for a fashion magazine or a watch adjacent magazine, then it's not always truthful. These guys have overheads that they have to pay for. They have staff, they have big buildings, they have a lot of overheads that need to be covered, and they have to take the money, whereas we don't. Yes, I've got a studio, and yes, we've got a shitload of camera equipment, but it's me, and it's just you, and so we'll need to do some paid stuff, but we can be very picky around what brands we work with.
Yeah. Yeah, so I remember being very jaded about this when I started figuring out how much money was getting thrown around. And once again, because I'm all very new to getting invited on these press trips, one of my earliest press trips, and I won't say where, one of the earliest ones I went on, I quickly realized I was the only one there who wasn't paid. And I was the only one there who was, like you said, a little renegade YouTuber, and I'm the one who gets the most heat. I've been the one who catches the most heat for, oh, you're such a shell. Oh, this is obviously paid for. Oh. And it's like, I'm the only one who's not. And you're not pointing the fingers at any of these guys. In fact, because they've been a little, unscrupulous and withheld information, they have these glowing reputations, and everyone's like, oh, they're so trustworthy. And it's like, oh no, I know. They told me how much they're making, and they're encouraging me to do the same. And I'm catching all the heat. This is very frustrating. Or anytime there is any form of conflict of interest, I clearly communicate it and say, this is sponsored by this, or I've received this watch. So many people aren't. And the way people treat you when you give them the honest truth, oh, you're a shell, oh, you're this, it almost incentivizes you not to tell them, because you think, I'm going to get all these horrible comments when I could just not tell them. They won't know the difference. It's tempting. But I personally, from an ethical standpoint, can't do it.
Yeah. And it drives me mad because a lot of these guys are my friends, good friends. And so when people say, oh, I only listen to so-and-so and so-and-so because these guys are trustworthy, like, I can't say they're not. Well, it's not they're not trustworthy. They're not. The relationships aren't what you think they are. And it makes it so murky.
They're not unbiased. You're watching a paid-for production that
Yeah.
hasn't been disclosed to you. And that's my entire thing is I want to disclose this to you so you have a lens to view this through. I'm very proud of this video. That's why I've put it out. I stand by everything I've said, but you need to be able to go into this piece of content knowing what lens you're viewing it through.
Yeah. No, exactly. And I feel like I don't think watch journalism is dead. What I feel is, and I think everyone will agree with it, is that the trust in watch journalism's dead. As soon as you say anything positive about anything, people assume, and I do this when I watch car reviews or when I watch camera reviews, you just immediately assume someone's being paid to say that. And the weird part is you can make a statement online and in a video and someone will say, oh, you're being biased or you've lost all credibility because I disagree with you. What? No, I can't be credible because you agree with what I say. That isn't credibility. That's the viewer trying to create an echo chamber of what they agree with. And just because someone thinks something different from someone else doesn't mean they're being paid to do so. And so I feel like it's a trust piece that is the biggest issue, and it's a shame. It's a shame because it means we have to spend so long trying to figure out what the truth is. If we want to know something about a watch or whether something's well made, it's not a matter of just watching one thing. I don't watch reviews. I watch camera reviews, but you have to watch multiple reviews to try and figure out, what is the real thing? And then if everyone thinks the same thing, like there was a comment on stage saying, "Oh, everyone makes the same comments." Oh yeah, because it's popular opinion for a reason. Mm. A lot of people feel the same way. Hublot isn't good value for money. We aren't being paid to say that. It just isn't. And so it's kind of one of those things. There was a really funny instance of when Jean-Claude Beaver launched, was it just called the Beaver brand or the Beaver watches?
I think it was Beaver. I think it was just Beaver.
Beaver, yeah. So he launches these outrageously expensive watches, and all the reviews, I wasn't invited. And that's not why I'm negative about it. NFI. He's not going to get invited now. I don't give a shit. Not a fan. All the reviews raved about how amazing the thing is. Such a genius move. And these watches are so beautifully made and such fantastic value. And this is horology. Jean-Claude Beaver is doing this new maverick move. But you speak to any one of those journalists in person, and they say the complete opposite. And I've spoken
to gross. That's
some
gross.
of the biggest journalists in our industry about this, and they say they say it's an absolute ripoff. The finishing's terrible. It's a joke. It is not worth the money. Every single person I've spoken who went on this trip, I haven't spoken to everyone who went on the trip, but every person I've spoken to who has gone on the trip, they echo the same thing. And that just proves the point. I guess it proves to me. You just have to take my word for it. It proves the distrust and how scared people are to speak up. And that's the powerful thing about the influencers, the YouTubers, the Instagrammers who aren't connected to these big publications, who can speak freely, is that we don't give a shit about who we upset. Yes, we will have our biases. Yes, we will have brands that... Actually, no. I've spoken ill about Rolex, about Tudor, about Omega. I've spoken IWC. I've spoken the brands that I like and I want to borrow watches of. I've spoken ill about them. I made a comment about the Tudor. I can't remember what it was. And I had a WhatsApp from the head of Tudor UK say, "Hey, can I add some context to it, to one of my comments?" And he called me up and said, "Oh, we did this because of that." He said, "Don't change it. Don't change what you said. I just want you to know why we've decided to do this."
Wow.
And I kind of feel like that shows so much bollocks. And then some dickhead in comments will say, "Oh, you're being paid to say this." No, I'm really Tudor to pay anyone. I'd love Tudor to pay me. I'd have a Rolex if Tudor paid me.
Oh, the people who think the Hans Wilsdorf Foundation's paying us? Yeah,
I know.
that's rich. They're like another person on Rolex's payroll. I was like, I wish.
Yeah. The
Yeah, not
closest
at
I've
all.
got to that is Rolex inviting me to Wimbledon. And that wasn't even for content. They just wanted to have a conversation.
Do you read any watch journalism? Would you say you're someone who stays really informed and in the loop with it?
No,
No.
I only read stuff if I need to double check specs on things. Some watch brands are terrible at sharing measurements, and so I'll go find. I'll go look at Tarmatide, Hodinkee, Fratello, and see what measurements they're getting for specifications.
I'm exactly the same. So I recently did a Q&A, and one of the questions I received is very relevant to this episode. They asked, is watch journalism, I think it said still relevant. Is watch journalism making a difference? Is it still relevant? And I thought about it, and I thought, I am a professional watch person. I just make watch videos, and I'm not reading these. All these articles to me in the watch journalism world seems to just be other watch journalists. I think the only people reading this are are other watch journalists and seem to care, because you'll go to these press events and you realize, oh, this is just like a weird incestuous pool of people who go to all these things. And I didn't realize this person was so relevant or had this big voice, because I've never read your stuff. I know I've seen your name about, but I don't want to read any of this in the nicest way. Or you'll start reading in it. So my husband is the perfect person for this, because he does read it and like it. It usually is filled with information I don't care about. So it'll start off as, it was a warm day in Monaco. The yachts were rolling through. I'm like, I don't care. What did the watch look like? I just really don't care.
See, that's the interesting thing, is that the article has to set the scene, or has to be so much more descriptive. Whereas you could start a YouTube video talking to camera and just talk about the watch, and they can see it's a warm day in Monaco. They can see you're in Monaco, and you don't have to say it. And I feel like the actions speak louder than words. The fact that so many journalists, not just watchers everywhere, are trying to make videos, it proves a point that things are moving away from written content to visual, especially for things like cars, cameras, watches. Perhaps not so much cameras beyond the fact that you want to see the results, but things that are so visual, like a car. A photograph of a car does nothing compared to a video of a car. A photograph of a watch does nothing compared to a video of the watch. And so it is just more powerful. Now, there will be people who just prefer to read as opposed to listen to people rabbit on. But then even making a statement, you have to be descriptive about how you're making that statement, whereas we can just make the statement and you can tell by the tone of our voice, the context, or we can communicate our feelings through the way that we're saying the words.
Yeah, I'm too illiterate. Just show me the video, tell me the thing. And I trust video so much more. If you show a photograph, I think, oh, has that been quite edited? Does it actually look like that? If you give me an iPhone quality video of something, I believe it. I'm looking at it. Yes, I can see all those little things. I truly believe, and this is a big statement, and push back on me if you think this is totally wrong. I think watch journalism in the traditional sense is really only for other watch journalists and people who are looking to buy that specific watch and want to get as much information as they can. I'm not sitting down and reading for any other reason than, oh, I want to buy that watch. Let's get all the information I can. But maybe that's too strong of a statement.
I kind of agree. I would branch out a little bit more to the point of watch journalism is just for watch people. And that's the challenging part of watch journalism. And that's why new media, Instagram, YouTube, is so much more powerful. And I'm not just saying that because that's what we do. It is just more powerful than watch journalism, because the Instagram feed or the YouTube algorithm could push one of our videos to people who don't necessarily care about watches. I did a video talking about the tariffs. The amount of non-watch comments in that video is outrageous because that topic transcends the watch community. And so suddenly, someone who's watched that tariff video will then be fed my Longines Big Eye video, and they might just click on it. Whereas a Hodinkee article talking about the Longines Big Eye, that will never be presented to someone who isn't a watch person. It's just not going to show up in their Google searches unless someone randomly searches. No, I can't think of a phrase. It just won't be seen. And I feel like that's kind of proven by Nico and Teddy Baldassar, the biggest voices in the watch world. That's including Hodinkee, Fratello, Time and Tide. Nico and Teddy Baldassar are the most powerful voices within the watch world. Nico, I asked Nico what's his view count, monthly view count.
Oh, I bet the number is disgusting. I bet you it's going to make me feel
right,
so bad about myself.
Guess how many views Nico gets. So he's got
month.
1.8 million subscribers, 1.9 million subscribers. How many views do you think he gets a month?
So I think he releases, and this is just his main channel.
Yeah.
Okay, so I think he does one video weekly. They're probably 200,000-ish. And then his back catalog, I would guess he is getting 15 million views a month.
How the hell does he? Yeah, that's exactly it. 15 million, which is an outrageous amount. Now, 15 million views doesn't equate to 15 million unique visitors, but Hodinkee, the world's largest traditional publication, gets 1.5 million unique visitors a month versus Nico's 15 million views a month. Now, I get roughly 1 million views a month, and from that, I get around 400,000 unique visitors, unique viewers. So translate that into Nico's numbers. Nico's blowing Hodinkee out of the water. Regardless of whether you like Nico or not, that is completely irrelevant. Nico is the biggest, the most powerful voice in the watch world. And no publication comes even close to that, which I think speaks volumes.
Those are crazy numbers. And you're right. I just think it is the future. I think what we do.
Yeah.
I feel so lame. It's like, what we do is the best. It's like asking a CEO, could the company run better? It's like, I don't think so. I think the company's running perfectly. I think the more traditional forms of watch media, watch publications, etc., I feel like it's just a branch that is slowly dying and evolving more towards video and the new styles of content. I am more likely to read if they posted a little picture on Instagram and a quick description. I am so much more likely to read that and for it to be an accessible piece of media for me than a publication releasing a whole long article. I don't want the articles to disappear. I'm so glad they exist, but I think it's becoming less of an important medium for them, and the newer forms are a more important medium to be investing in. I don't know fully how they work because all I do is YouTube, a bit of Instagram, and now this. So I don't know how accurate that would be, but I would imagine they must be moving more towards YouTube video creation than continuing to write articles.
Yeah, and I think the challenge is that a lot of journalists are being perhaps forced into making visual content. And everyone has their strengths. There's a reason I don't write articles. I wouldn't be any good at writing articles, and so I don't. And so I feel we all need to play to our strengths. The power of written articles for a long time has been SEO. Has been someone's going to type something into Google. Is a new Rolex Landweller a good watch? And then an article will be, that'll go into Google. Google will look around the internet and find this article and present this article. Now, the power of AI being able to caption video very accurately now means that YouTube videos are being served up as the answer to that question or to that Google search. And you click on the link as you would click into the article, click on a link, and it will take you directly to that part within the video. So listen to 1 minute 18 to 1 minute 32. And so that kind of renders the article being SEO irrelevant now. And YouTube being the second largest search engine, everything's being pushed over to video. I feel like this has become, look at our product. Isn't our product great? Like, this isn't us blowing our own trumpets. I made YouTube videos because I like watches and I like making videos. I didn't do it because I had this massive brainwave that YouTube's the future. I'm not that smart. That's why I make YouTube videos. The same.
It's exactly the same for me. I was having fun fiddling around with a camera, thought it was brilliant, and I'm no good at writing, but maybe I can talk and people will like it. No, if it does not sound like us blowing our own trumpets, it's not. It's just, is watch journalism dead? No, I don't think watch journalism is dead. I think it's just evolving into something new. And maybe this wave of newness needs a different name. I think even calling what is traditional watch journalism right now journalism is maybe even too strong of a word. But I think it's evolving and we're looking for new language to describe this new thing. And I think people like you and I would say influencer is not the word. Watch journalists isn't the word either, nor is content creator. I think we just need to build new language around this new thing that's happening.
I've just figured out, I think journalism's dead. You can't listen to anything and truly believe it. Everyone has an agenda, and every publication, not just watches, every single publication has some sort of agenda and will be controlled by someone who has a strategy and somewhere they want to take that publication, and that will then be feeding what sort of content they make. I'm thinking news. You can't listen to news and believe what they're saying. Everything can be twisted to be the whole world's falling apart, isn't it? It's this is the end of society. No, but I can't listen to normal news and trust what they say, because everything can be packaged in a certain way.
I think the problem is how humans work and how algorithms work. So everything needs to be packaged in the most hyperbolic package. So you're going to say the most insane, most intense, the furthest down either way for news. The problem is how humans work, and you're absolutely right. They do have an agenda. They, of course, have a leaning that they're catering towards. And one of the interesting things is when I was at your panel, one of the people there said, a traditional journalist, I couldn't take them out for a meal because it would be perceived as a gift. But watch journalists, they come on all these lavish these lavish press trips. And I remember thinking, yeah, these journalists you're talking about are for papers that are owned by Jeff Bezos. They have a very different capital they're working with, and they have a guaranteed paycheck coming out of that capital. This is different. I'm not defending the press strips, but I am saying you're comparing apples and oranges right now. Yeah. If you're comparing what I'm doing.
He was one of the collectors, and he's a venture capitalist, so he's in finance. And so, yeah, when you're dealing with that sort of stuff, there needs to be a lot more regulation. And maybe there should be regulation. I mean, it's not that deep. I think that's what it comes down to, is writing an article about a watch being paid for or not being paid for. It's not that deep. We're just passionate about it because we care. But there doesn't need to be there actually is regulation. There's in the UK, I don't know if it's a global thing, the Advertising Standards Agency, ASA. But yeah, there isn't regulation because it's just not that deep. We're not.
So in summary, on the longest ever episode of The Movement, Adrian saying all journalism's dead. I think my official stance is journalism's evolving. I don't think it's dead. I really consider a big part of what I do taking in information that's given to me by brands and communicating what's on and what's not. And I wouldn't say it's journalism, but I think it must be adjacent, and I think it's evolving. And I'm deeply proud of the work that I do, and I'm trying very, very hard to keep it unbiased and independent.
Yeah, I kind of stand by my feeling of journalism's dead, and it's being killed by the people who own the companies, the publications. Because I feel like, and this is kind of the power of Substack. So many ex-Houdinki journalists are on Substack just writing. And these are guys who you can trust. I don't read them because I don't read. Can't read. I can.
Because we're illiterate. Listen to our podcast or watch our videos.
This is why I speak.
So, in conclusion, Adrian says, journalism's dead. All journalism's dead.
Yeah.
I'm saying it's evolving. I'm not as pessimistic as you.
No. I'm not pessimistic. I just speak the truth because I have an agenda. Oh, fuck me.
Anyone who's watching this, listening to this, we would love to know your thoughts on watch journalism. Do you think it's dead? Do you think it's alive and well? Let us know in the comments. Let us know in the Substack. I can't wait to see what other people are thinking and what they're getting from this. And I think we're both so biased, and we're like both in a very specific universe of this thing. So I'd love to know from other people.
But this kind of highlights why this podcast is behind a paywall.
Yeah,
because it's kind of a commitment. You guys have committed to being part of this movement, and in exchange, we're committing to not taking any money and doing any sponsorship. I know there's been comments of people saying, I'd prefer to you to take money to do sponsor ads and for it to be free. No, I get that. But this is about it being raw, truthful, and I get, you kind of get what you pay for, don't you? If something's free, then money has to be made somewhere because it takes money to make this stuff. Do you have any recommendations for things that people should check out? I haven't, but I feel like this is a wholesome thing to do. I like it when other podcasts say. I feel like it's a format thing that I enjoy when other people do it.
I'm trying to think of a recommendation. I can't recommend anything to anyone. I'm a deeply unhealthy person who lives off of coffee and no sleep.
Say coffee again.
Coffee. Do not do anything I recommend to you. I am a goblin, barely surviving. I need the recommendations to try to make me a better version of myself. I think, if I just buy the thing they've said, maybe I'll be an okay person.
So I've got one.
Yeah.
So a podcast that I listen to religiously is called Off Menu, and it's by James Acaster and Ed Gamble, two British comedians who interview other comedians. And the idea is that they talk about their dream meal, which sounds so pedestrian, just so vanilla, but it is hilarious. I absolutely love it. I don't miss an episode of it. I like good food, but it's not just good food. They're not necessarily foodies, so it's hilarious the food that they come up with. Some people talk about fish finger sandwiches and stuff like that, and other people talk about caviar. So it's hilarious. I absolutely love it. Should
we set these people free from our voices?
Yeah. Thanks so much for listening, guys. If you subscribe, a massive thanks. Thanks to everyone who's subscribed. This is episode number 4. And already I'm absolutely loving it. It's the comments, the chats, especially on Instagram as well.
So am I.
We should keep going.
We should.
We will keep going regardless of who subscribes and who doesn't. This is good for my mental health.
That's what I was telling my husband. I was like, I would run at a loss for like a few years because I just like hanging out with Adrian. Every time I come into the garage to film again, I think, oh gosh, I don't want to go out there. But then I always come into the conversation. I love making these, and I always leave in a better mood than I came in with.
Same.
So
we're fixing the world. No, we're not fixing the world, are we?
Maybe we just need therapy. I think we just need...
We should let these guys go. We're rabbiting. I'm rabbiting.
Okay. Love you guys. Love you. Mean it.
Love you guys. Bye.
Bye.